All right, welcome in. Welcome to the Women's Wellness Network. Welcome, everybody, and welcome to our guest, Caroline. Hello, Caroline. How are you tonight?
Hi, Tammy. I'm really good, thank you. Greetings from New Zealand.
Wonderful. See, and it's my this evening, but I do believe it's your morning, is it not?
Yes, so weird.
That's awesome. I love it. I love that part about the Women's Wellness Network. It's global, and there are amazing people all over the planet that we get to meet and speak to. So, yeah, why don't you go ahead and introduce yourself, Caroline, and tell us a little bit about who you are.
Okay, so hi everyone. Lovely to meet you, and thank you for this opportunity. So my name's Caroline Murray. My business name, I've got two. One is the Wilderness Vet, which is kind of my main identity. And I'm a vet. I was brought up and worked in the UK, but I moved to New Zealand quite a long time ago. So I just wanted to share a little bit kind of about my story and why I'm here talking about women's wellness, which I'm very passionate about, along with Tammy and lots of other women in this group. So I had a bit of a turbulent childhood, put it in a box, threw it away, locked it up, and then got on with my job, which was being a vet. But I realized I had lots of problems with kind of relationships and conflict and stuff, personal and work stuff, that I thought was just to do with my job and people just being annoying and clients not listening to what I was saying, where actually, as we know, all of that is to do with us. Anyway, roll on about 10 years. I loved being a vet. I love helping people, solving problems, making a difference. But I kind of got really fed up of not being paid very well, long hours, stress. And there's quite a lot of abuse from employers, managers, and often clients, unfortunately, and being on call and not having any breaks. And things kind of came to a head in about 2018 when in the space of about 6 months, four of my friends died by suicide, completely out of the blue, including two of my best friends from vet school. And then my dad was diagnosed with really horrible terminal disease. And died quite horrifically around the same time. So I had a big reassessment of what was important in life. And he had always worked really hard to support his family and then died within a couple of years of retiring and didn't really get to enjoy life. And I decided I didn't want to do that. So I went working part-time, and I did a lot of travel, and I decided I wanted to have experiences with people I like rather than just slaving away. I was getting paid quite well, but it's the whole money doesn't always bring you happiness thing. And I really struggled when he died because I kind of stupidly thought, oh, he's not suffering anymore, so when he's passed away it will be fine, but it's not really fine. So I did a lot of reading about kind of grief and trauma and things, and then moved back. So when he was really sick, I moved from New Zealand back to the UK, and we thought he was only going to be around for about 6 months, but it actually took about 5.5 years for him to eventually pass away, and it's pretty horrific. So I came back to New Zealand after that to kind of resume my life, but obviously I wasn't really the same person and all my friends had moved on. And then sometimes, when you're rushing around and not really dealing with stuff, life things occur that makes you deal with things. And so within a few weeks of getting back to New Zealand, to getting back to what I thought was, carrying on with everything, I had a horrendous back injury and prolapsed a disc in my lower back. And then suddenly, from running all the time and dancing a lot and being very active, which was my coping of everything, not what that things weren't working, I couldn't walk, I couldn't stand up, I couldn't get out of bed, I couldn't sit down, and I had off the charts nerve pain, sciatica kind of things. And I ended up in hospital, and they told me, this is how it is. When you've been like this for 6 months, you can go and learn how to live with it. And I just thought, what the hell? This is not okay. And along the start of the healing journey was I met this guy in hospital who had had quite a severe motorcycle accident, and he had like broken bones and quite bad injuries, and he was on no painkillers. And at this point I was on 7 painkillers, and still my pain was like out of control. And I said to him, like, what the hell's going on? And he said, oh, I was in the army. I think that was just kind of a chance thing. But he said, they taught me how to block out pain with my brain. And I was like, I was on a ketamine drip at the time. And I was like, what? Like, what? And so I started reading about this and how basically, you know, like, although you feel pain, it's perceived in your brain. And then there's all these things that like affect that. And one of those is having like a crazy, turbulent childhood. And so I got out of hospital, started coming off all the drugs. And interestingly, my pain levels were no different after the 7 drugs had stopped. So clearly that wasn't really working. And the hospital wasn't really interested. I said, something else is wrong. And they just said, no, you just need to keep taking the drugs, because the health system isn't designed for like holistic healing and like brain things, which is where the source of everything is. And unfortunately, one of the drugs they gave me is called pregabalin, which I think is called Lyrica where you are. And I got a really horrendous reaction to it, which wasn't really recognized at the time. And so as well as all the pain, I then had like pain everywhere else. And the hormone producing part of my brain just kind of stopped working. So my thyroid wasn't really working. I couldn't get out of bed. And also my estrogen went like off the charts. So I turned into some kind of psycho nutcase. And I was really angry. And then I got told that I needed anger management. And I kept saying something's wrong because I'm a vet and I knew something was wrong. But they kept just telling me, no, like, you're in your 40s. This is like, you know, your hormones, you're just a bit crazy. So I started doing more research and realized, you know, what was going on. But unfortunately, by that point, a lot of damage had been done. So then I needed a hysterectomy, which was another traumatic experience. And then there's all these fallouts from that with hormones and things. So that I had to start again and confront, like, how am I going to get better? What am I going to do? Because there was just me, no one to support me. And so I found like all these things that helped just kind of out of the blue. And so during this period, I had like nearly 3 years off work. I had a year where I was on benefits because I couldn't really work, even though there's an international vet shortage. I couldn't get part-time work because I didn't have children and they wouldn't give me work, which is, I don't think, a thing anywhere else. And I realized, like, I'm going to have to sort this out and I'm going to have to find a way to like get back to work and make things work for me. So I set up just like a tiny little mobile vet thing where I was like, how can I work less but still earn some money and work in an environment that I want to work in? And so I didn't have any business experience and I never thought I would work for myself or really set up a business. So I just started going to people's houses and helping them with animals and things. You know, lots of people with cats and stuff don't want to travel. Right. And so it's just a little tiny thing, but I felt like it really helped me because I felt like I was making a difference and people really appreciated it. It's still quite hard where I live for people to see the value of that because, you know, it costs more to go to someone's house. Right. Like, they go to the clinic. And then I started looking in kind of ways, well, like, I'm not earning any money, so I need to work out free ways of like helping myself. And along the way, as I'm sure you on this group found, we met all these other people who had had similar or, you know, related issues that were also in a bad way, and so you kind of get this network of people like, how can I help each other? And one of the scariest things was when I started researching about pregabalin, there was a Facebook group. You know, the whole vaginal mesh thing started with a Facebook group. And so although people won't listen to women, I find they come together and then, you know, in a group, we can really make a difference. And what was scary, Tammy, is in that group, when I first joined, there was 10,000 women who were in a lot worse state than me. Some of them couldn't really work because they had such bad damage from this drug. But the doctors don't really recognize it or know about it, especially here. And then roll on now, like 5 years later, there's like over 15,000 people in this group. So that's a lot of people like still not really being listened to. So one of the reasons I'm here is to kind of spread the word that be really careful the medicines they give you, because some people this drug is a lifesaver, but other people it can really wreck everything. And because it affects like your mood and your hormones, that has a huge knock-on effect on like your relationships. Like I couldn't even get out of bed, I couldn't function, I like turned into this like crazy person, like, you know, Medusa. I describe myself as Medusa the Gorgon with like snakes coming out of my head. And I was crying all the time, and I kept saying, you know, like I don't know who I am anymore, but I can't find me. And so one of the things that I just wanted to spread the word about is hormones and how important they are. And we often don't realize that until they stop working. And, you know, the whole health before wealth thing is really true. Like I tried to set up a business when I was still a bit mad, and you just can't really do it when you can't communicate with people.
Right.
And, you know, as you know, like, you know, we're here communicating, like language and like the words we use and how we speak to ourselves has a huge bearing on how we speak to and relate to other people. And communication and relationships are like the basis of everything. So if you want to get on with people and then have a business, you need to kind of be on top of that. So I found like NLP through that neuro-linguistic programming, which kind of helps you work out, like I thought I was just really angry because I was in lots of pain and I couldn't do anything. But actually a lot of it, when they start nitpicking through like what's happened in your life, a lot of that came from like the childhood stuff, you know, and a lot of us have these weird things, even though we're in our 40s, our mothers have this like invisible power over us. Of like that we don't really feel like we're good enough, just stuff that we haven't even dealt with. And so when you kind of deal with all that, then you get to the root of where these feelings are. And it's just incredible. And on a similar note, with pain, so I found like I couldn't, like, you know, if you can't really sit down or stand up, then you can't really socialize or go out. So you get very isolated and lonely, and then you get angry about that. And it's just this vicious cycle. So you have to kind of find a way of kind of like getting over that. And so one of those is like this group having a support network or having other people that like get it. And, you know, I can't remember if it's Tony Robbins or someone said, you know, we are the sum of the 5 people that we surround ourselves with. So choose carefully. So I have
proximity.
So you have to really find people who A, can help you, and B, who you can kind of, you know, look up to and be inspired and want to be. And part of the whole refinding yourself and the language thing is like, you know, am I just going to be angry and be a victim all the time? Or am I going to start doing the surviving, thriving thing, talking about this, helping other people? And that's all part of our healing process. You know, a lot of people who do coaching and write books is because really bad things happened. And then they're like, oh my God, we want to like help other people so this doesn't happen to them. And so I just found all these really great things that were free that helped me by chance. And one of them is just, you know, like the way we speak to ourselves. So I went to this amazing pain conference, and they were saying, you know, if you ask women who've had a hysterectomy, you know, what's your pain score out of 10? They'll tell you like a quite high score because it's a really painful surgery. But if you say to them, what's your comfort score? Your brain starts thinking like, oh, comfort, good things. And they found that like their pain was less. So just really small, fascinating things like that. And another one I found early on, like if I was with friends and I was laughing or playing really loud music that I love, I was kind of like playing music loudly because I was kind of angry, decreases the pain, and it's just kind of quite magical. So I'm not saying you don't need drugs, but I I was on so many drugs I couldn't even like function, and I was like, I can't go on like this. So there's lots of ways of creating in your brain that help, like, so you either don't need drugs like me, or that you need a lot less. And I think, again, the health system isn't really geared up for that because they haven't got time for this holistic thing. Another thing which I found,
they're going to start having time.
Yeah, we are working on that, and they are getting better. So in my town, it's really exciting. They've got green prescription now, so you can have. They go and tell you, refer you to this like a social group. So you do activities, and you even just that. So like hanging out with other people, and not, because when you start being on your own and when you're in pain, you don't have any bandwidth to like even think about other stuff. But when you start talking to other people and getting out of your head, that's really good and like positive. Another thing I found really fascinating is the whole gut, brain, body thing. I'd always been really skeptical about that. But at the point when I was really bad, and I think a lot of us do this, I was eating a lot of chocolate to kind of make myself feel better.
Wow.
You know, and I'm not saying like, obviously we all love chocolate, well, most of us, but at one point I was like, oh my God, I'm eating like nearly 3/4 kilo a week. This is like not good. And which I was like, 100 grams a day, that's not too bad. But when you put it into a week, it's actually quite frightening. But also I didn't realize the effect that sugar is like so inflammatory. And so I tried, someone said to me, look, why don't you just try not eating like chocolate and sugar for a month? And within a week, my pain levels of the nerve pain had gone down by 50%, which was incredible. And also gluten is like not for everyone. Like I used to eat bread all the time when I was little, but one of the things they don't tell you after the hysterectomy is when your estrogen then goes down, then you can get really allergic to things. And one of those is gluten and dairy. And that can also cause a lot of pain and other things. And so just cutting that out, which again is free, is really helpful.
Right.
And one of the other things is just, you know, kind of like going out and having fun, like hanging out with people, doing things you like. Obviously, you need to be more mobile, but so, and some of that is finding what you love. So I love being outside in the sunshine in nature. And weirdly, even when my pain was really bad and I couldn't really stand up or sit, I could walk because that's what I liked. And that's now like, that's still one of like my coping things, you know, if things get really bad, just go out in the sun for 20 minutes. And I'm really lucky I live near the hills, so I can zip up in an hour and back, 12-minute walk to the hills. And I'm just looking what else. Oh, the other thing that I discovered recently, which I would advise everyone to do, two things. I'd just like to say a shout out to Deb Reynolds, who introduced me to this group, and Tammy, who is an amazing lady. And she told me to do this program called the PQ program, which is called Positive Intelligence, which I was, again, a bit skeptical about. But I have to recommend, was so good because it kind of like retrains your brain to just kind of focus on what's going on. Because when you get in a lot of pain, you start getting all this rumination about the past, worry about the future, and you end up not really living in like what's happening now. And it teaches you to just do that, but also it makes you a lot more resilient. So you're like, oh, I can kind of deal with things, rather than like, I'm just going to sit in my bed and eat chocolate and read a book for a week because I can't deal with life. So
probably been there.
Yeah. And also I think sometimes we do need to do that for a day. That's part of our self-care package.
Yes.
But everything in moderation. One of the things I found really recently that I'd love to advocate for everyone as well is a thing called Qigong, which I'd kind of heard of and thought, oh, you know, that's for old people in the park who wave their arms about. But through the NLP and the same place that I met Deborah, there's a guy called Nicholas Blewett in Australia who is super passionate about Qigong. And he does like little challenges that you can go on for free. And then he's also got programs that are, and even in the 5 days, like Tammy, we were just talking about your challenge before, that you saw such a difference in a short time. Right. Even in the 5 days, people have seen like really big changes. And the thing that I loved about the Qigong was it kind of helps you to heal your mind and your body. And so you can teach yourself, and then you can help other people. And it just helps your body like realign itself. And it's kind of like, so I regard it as like, I called it like NLP for the body. Like you don't have to do NLP first, but it's quite amazing how it kind of, and he's all about like really getting grounded and getting back into nature. So I would recommend anyone checking that out. And also, you only have to do the really good thing with the PQ and the Qigong, because in the beginning, you know, all of us say, I can't do it, I'm too busy, I don't have time. And then one of Nicholas's things is, you know, if you can't meditate for 20 minutes, you have to meditate for an hour because you need the time. So yeah, just I'm really passionate about helping women to help themselves. And amazing. Sorry, I know we're running out of time, so I'll be super quick.
That's okay, you got lots to say.
So I'm in the middle of, obviously I'm really loving my vet work and I like helping people, but I've set up this other kind of little site, and my little dream is to help women like in their kind of 40s, where I was. You know, we all want to help people of where we were get through what we did, so they don't have to go through what we went through. So I've got this little site called Jigsaw Tribes, because we're all like made up of lots of little parts, and if they're not all interacting and fitting in properly, then things don't really work. You know, like the hormones, the brain, the gut, the body, and all that stuff. And so the two principles that I'd like everyone also to consider, that I kind of based my like values on. One is called, it's from Africa, because it's one of the places I love, Ubuntu, and it's about like humanity and together. And I'm sure you've heard it, Tammy, like being really collective. I just love that. And, you know, I spent quite a lot of time in Africa, and the whole thing about it takes a village to raise a child is so true. Like I've seen that with my own eyes, and it's quite incredible and very humbling to see like people with nothing, what they can do. And the second principle is a thing called kintsugi, which is from Japan. And it's about like where you celebrate, instead of like celebrate being a whole, you celebrate putting the bits back together. So kintsugi is like where you have these bowls and like the cracks aligned with gold and stuff. So you celebrate the gluing back. And so just people finding themselves, putting yourself back together. And often like you'll end up a completely different person. But, you know, the whole, if it doesn't kill you, it makes you stronger thing, I think is actually really true, because all of us in this group have probably been through horrific things, which we wouldn't wish on anyone, but we've all learned a lot, and they've been opportunities for us to learn and then help other people. And it's so good having a network of ladies who kind of get it. And like now it's okay. Well, I think we've made it okay to talk about, you know, suddenly everyone's talking about the menopause, and before it's like, oh my God, you know, can't talk about that. It's like old ladies sweating. That we don't really want to know about that. But, you know, everyone talks about Viagra and when men's like bits aren't working. So why shouldn't we talk about women?
Exactly.
So I feel like we're in like a really lucky space right now where we can be liberated, and, you know, we're in a Western countries that we can speak about things. So I'm very passionate about doing these little talks, and thank you very much for the opportunity, and writing about things and just like spreading the word and helping other people. And just, it's so great to connect with people all around the world. And sorry, Tammy, you haven't really got a word in it.
That's okay. Hey, well, you know what? If there's questions that I'm thinking of, you're coming up with the answers all on your own. You've covered a lot of ground. You've given us a lot of information, and very valuable information, even, like, you know, you haven't just said, oh, I do this, I do that. You've given some real life examples of things that people can actually take away right this very moment and start implementing. So we know there's no excuses except those ones that we make for ourselves. That's very,
Yeah.
that's kind of how it works. So if some women would like to get a hold of you, want to know more about you, what you do, what you have to offer, how can we find you?
So probably the best one is through my vet messaging. So that's like the main sites that I use. So Jigsaw Tribes is my health one, but it's just kind of up and coming. So I'm on Facebook, the Wilderness Vet One, Instagram, also the Wilderness Vet One, and I'm on LinkedIn, the Wilderness Vet. So any of those you can message me, and then we can swap to the other one if we need to. But I kind of view like my vet stuff as well as kind of like, you know, there's a big animal human bond. So often when you help the animal, you help the people. And, you know, often when you talk to the people who've got the animals, they've got health issues and lots of other, you know, we've all got stuff going on. So I'm trying to find a way to kind of like combine those. And one of the things I really love to do, obviously I can't do on Zoom, but encourage two things. Encourage people to get outside, because I think COVID, we really got too much inside and also inside our brains, and that is not healthy. And also I'm very passionate about nature therapy, animal therapy, you know, like we all really missed hugs, and being connected is like, and having like, you know, we're designed to like touch people and be, you know, like, and a lot of us are really missing that still because of lots of repercussions of either being really unwell or things that have happened. And so walking and talking, I would just really encourage everyone to do that, because it's one thing talking on Zoom, which is so good because we can do that internationally, but it's really good to just get outside and talk, because it's less confronting. Some people who are a bit not too okay with, you know, like looking at someone and talking about things. When you're outside, you've got like the birds singing, sunshine, nature. It's a lot easier to kind of get things out and process things. And I had a guy in this town who I just met really by chance, who actually I just sent a message to before this talk to say thank you. You know, there's these people who kind of like scrape you off the floor and get you going, and then like all the rest follows. So yeah, sorry, that's the long answer to your question.
Lovely though. It's still lovely. It's lovely. Thank you. We will put all your information into the comments. So Women of the Women's Wellness Network, we will put all of everything that she just said into into the comments. So we make sure that we get all your groups correct and people can find you easily, because you know we don't want to mess up with spelling or missing a dot or something. We want you to put it in there so that it's correct and people can find you. So I want to thank you so much for coming today. It was very interesting, and yeah, I look forward to seeing what you're going to be doing in the world, because I think there is a really great correlation there between the animals and the people, and the things that you can do together with that will, yeah, amazing, amazing. So thank you very much for coming, and Women of the Women's Wellness Network, until next time, be well.
Thank you so much, Temi.
Thank you, Caroline.